Welcome to In Touch with Durham County, the show designed to provide you with information about Durham County government, its people, programs, and services. I'm Deborah Craig-Ray, General Manager of Strategic Planning and Innovation. We're still here virtually, socially distancing, and bringing you important information. Today, we are so pleased to have as our guest for our entire show our new Durham County Manager, Dr. Kimberly Sowell. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Deborah, and great day to everyone. I am just thrilled to be here. Everyone has been so welcoming and accommodating, and I could not have asked for a better reception. So looking forward to being here and working with everyone to do some amazing things for our community.
Fantastic. Well, I would just note that the Durham County Commissioners unanimously voted to appoint you as our 8th county manager in February. You were officially sworn in on March 14th. So what can you tell us about your background? I think you're a North Carolina native. Where did you grow up?
Absolutely. I grew up in the great metropolis of Kannapolis, North Carolina, which is not big at all. It is outside of right before you get to Charlotte, if you're going 85 south from here, right before you get to Charlotte Concord area. And so that's where I was born, raised, graduated high school from A.L. Brown High School, which has a tradition, a huge tradition of football, great football program. And so I was in the high school band there. I was in the dancing group in the band. It was called the Sponsors, and I was the first African American high school young lady to be a part of that dancing group. And so it just really helped to develop and shape confidence in me. And so while Kannapolis is a very small community, I feel like I was exposed to so many life-changing experiences there that it gave me the adventurous spirit to, branch out and go in other places. And so I'm glad that those adventures led me ultimately to Durham County.
So where did you receive your formal education? I think it was in Greensboro?
Yes. Received my Bachelor of Science degree in accounting from the illustrious North Carolina Agricultural A&T State University.
Yeah.
Aggie pride, I will say to all of my Aggies out there, but North Carolina A&T was another ground where I was allowed to explore, discover, and just become the person that I am today. And I went there because my mom's sisters. Two of my mom's sisters graduated from North Carolina A&T. So I did have offers to attend other schools. I actually had a basketball scholarship to it was High Point College then. It's now High Point University.
Yeah.
But I wanted to continue in my family's legacy. And so I enrolled at North Carolina A&T. 4 wonderful years there, still connected to many of my professors there. And ironically, just graduated from North Carolina A&T on Saturday with my doctorate in leadership studies, my PhD in leadership studies. So I achieved my bachelor's degree, my master's degree, as well as my PhD from North Carolina A&T State University. So that is a place that is very near and dear to my heart.
Absolutely. So, Durham is Eagle Land and you're an Aggie, but if I'm not mistaken, you and your husband are house divided, a little rivalry between two great institutions, North Carolina Central and North Carolina A&T. Is that right?
Yes, because my husband attended North Carolina Central, and he eventually transferred to North Carolina A&T. He came back home, but he was born and raised in Greensboro. And so as you can imagine, most, high school students, when they graduate, they want to get away from where they grew up from. And so he got away to Durham and came to North Carolina Central, and so that's still a special place for him.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is a bit of a rivalry in our house. And so when I was offered this job and accepted it, he was excited because he said, now we get to go to homecoming at North
Yes.
Carolina Central. And I told him I didn't have a problem with that. So although I'm an Aggie, I have much love for Eagles.
There you go. There you go. Now, if I recall, some of your career path found you in the corporate environment. Tell us about that experience.
Yeah, so my first job after college was with Deloitte. It's now known as Deloitte, but when I joined the ranks, it was Deloitte and Touche.
Mm-hmm.
And I served as a staff accountant, so it's a public accounting firm. And my job was to perform audits in various different companies. And so I audited companies in the insurance industry, actually in the government industry. I actually audited the city of Greensboro.
Oh my goodness.
And in towns. There's a town called the town of Broadway. I remember that vividly. I would get milkshakes every day for lunch because they had a nice little lunch counter. But started there in Deloitte. And I also worked at a firm called Ansco and Associates. And so my roots came from the corporate environment, which I absolutely loved. But for me, public accounting was different because I actually moved from company to company, auditing different companies. So I traveled a little. And because of the type of person I am, I realized that I needed to be planted somewhere because I wanted to be a part of a team, a permanent team, and I wanted to be a part of a company that could build success. And so public accounting, while I really appreciated, that was almost like the crown jewel for accountants. You wanted to graduate and go into public accounting.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate that experience, but it taught me that I really wanted to work in a company where I was stable and, where I could be a part of a team for the long haul.
So then you moved into working at your own alma mater. You were
Yes.
in academia for a time. So
Yes.
how and what did you do there?
So I was there at North Carolina A&T for 20 years. I cannot believe it was that long, because I remember when I went there, I thought, well, I'll work here about 2 or 3 years and then I'll move on to something else. And those 20 years multiplied, 2 or 3 years multiplied into 20 years. And my first position there was as the assistant treasurer. So I was hired as the assistant treasurer. And about 2 years after that, I was promoted to being the treasurer of the university. I was the youngest treasurer they have ever had, and I
I'm
think that
sure.
still stands.
Yeah.
And I can recall, it was almost like it was yesterday, but the vice chancellor of business and finance at that time was a little nervous because of my young age and wasn't sure that I would be able to handle the responsibility, because the responsibility of the treasurer was to receive all of the cash and funds that come into the university, whether that's by students paying their tuition, whether it's by athletic receipts that are, received at the gate, whether that's research dollars
Right.
that, the A&T is world renowned for research. And so a lot of federal dollars are deposited into North Carolina A&T for research purposes. And so at that time, I think the level was about $120 million was coming into the university. And, they just weren't sure if this little young lady, could be trusted to manage all of these funds. And so I was just really, really proud of the fact that the chancellor at that time was Edward B. Fort, and he's now a dear mentor of mine. But, he felt like he saw the potential in me, and he approved for me to be hired as the treasurer. And I was the treasurer for about 13 years or so. And what I found was, I got that position because of my accounting background and my love for working in finance. And but what I found was as I would help students, they would come to me because of financial problems, and I would end up kind of counseling and mentoring them and helping them decide on what majors really fit their personality and their skill set, helping them navigate even personal problems. And by doing that, I developed a relationship with the Vice Chancellor of Student Affairs, who at that time was a gentleman by the name of Dr. Sullivan Wellborn. And so Dr. Wellborn saw kind of the niche I had for helping to develop students. And he had a position that, one, it would be over the help with the budget. It would also help to resolve student complaints and student issues. And so he kind of tapped me and said, you know, I have this position that's available. Would love it if you would apply for it if you're interested in it. And of course I did. And so then I was hired as the Assistant Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs. And in that position, I oversaw the Division of Student Affairs, the budget. I oversaw the Student Center, the band, so the great blue and gold marching machine, and then all of the other clubs and organizations and the Royal Court, so like the Mr. and Miss A&T and the student body president, the SGA, elected student leaders. And I have to tell you, that was just such a joy for me to be able to impact the lives of students and help them achieve their dreams and their goals. And I think that was where I realized where my purpose was. And it was really to help develop people, to create positive impact in the lives of people. And so it started there with students. And then while I was there, we created, well, I would say the city of Greensboro created what was termed then as the University Roundtable.
Okay.
And it was where, you know, the officials from the city would meet with officials from each of there were 7 university colleges and universities in the city. And so then I, you know, became aware of kind of municipal government and how government runs and how you, you know, can partner with municipal governments and help to help achieve the dreams and goals of students. And so that piqued my interest that, oh, there's another realm of impact that you can make even broader than a college or university. And so that was my introduction into government through North Carolina A&T.
Yes, yes. So exactly when did you join the city of Greensboro?
I joined the city of Greensboro in 2015, and I joined in the Human Resources Office. And so during the transition, so while I was at A&T, I earned my Master's of Adult Education. And I really went that route thinking, I think I want to teach at the higher education level one day.
Okay.
But as a part of that program, I was introduced to human resources and really fell in love with the idea that I could help shape the culture of an organization. And man, that it was really exciting for me at that opportunity. And so when I saw that opportunity, you know, become available at the city of Greensboro, applied for it, got it, and did that for about a year. And again, a lot of the moves I've made, and if you look at my resume, I'm not a person that jumps from job to job. I'm normally there for long tenure of time. But I was only in human resources for a year, and someone told me about a position in the water resources department that allowed me to touch all of my passion points. So budget, human resources, professional development. And so when I looked at the position, I thought, well, wow, this is really something I think I can do. But of course, the industry of water resources is a very specialized,
Yes, it is.
you know, industry. And that discipline requires people to become certified and just have a lot of specialized knowledge and skills. And so, but fortunately, again, the director saw the potential in me and hired me for that role. And so there I was the manager for the business division in water resources. And that position allowed me to kind of put my tentacles into every division in the department. And I tell you, I that was one of the most challenging positions I've had, but one of the most rewarding because I learned so much about a department that I never even considered. When I would wake up in the morning and turn on the faucet in the sink, I never understood that that water had to go to a wastewater treatment plant to be treated and then, dispersed to a local body of water that would then turn into drinking water.
And you were in charge of that process.
OMG. When we talk about public health,
Yes.
we normally think about public health with our personal, making sure that we're getting physicals and making sure that, that their illnesses are being treated. But making sure we have clean water is a real high priority in ensuring that we have high, public health, that we have a great public health and great quality drinking water.
Absolutely.
So that probably was a real impactful position and role for me at the city of Greensboro.
Well, we're having a great conversation if you're just joining us. We're talking with our new Durham County Manager, Dr. Kimberly Sowell. We're going to take a brief break, and when we come back, we're going to continue our conversation and hear all about her and also her plans for Durham County. Stay with us.
The decision to do vaccination for yourself is one thing, but it's another thing when considering vaccinating your children. For me, as a father, the most important things in my life are my children. The first opportunity we got, my wife and I vaccinated our 2 little boys. We have seen how this unfortunate infection has ravaged the entire world. We want to ensure that we give our children the best opportunity to be as safe and healthy as possible.
Welcome back to More in Touch. We are so pleased to be joined today by our new Durham County Manager, Dr. Kimberly Sowell. She is our 8th County Manager and our first female County Manager. Yay!
Yay!
So, you spent time in Greensboro, and then for some reason, you saw that we had an opening in Durham County, and you decided to apply. How did that happen?
So I'll go back to, and this was in the fiscal year 2018, 2019, I think. As a part of my professional development, I'm a member of a national organization called the National Association for Black Public Administrators, or NFBPA for short. And I saw where they offered an executive leadership institute, and it's called ELI. It's a 9-month program. And what really intrigued me about the program is that each month you visit a different university, and you stay a week at that university and kind of experience one of their public administration programs. So I applied, was accepted, and lo and behold, one of the weeks was spent here in Durham. And I attended, I think it's the Nicholas School of Environment at Duke, and learned about sustainability, and natural environment, and how, as public administrators, it's our responsibility to make sure we're protecting our environment. And so, the time that I spent here, and being from Greensboro, was only 50 minutes away. My husband joined me and spent a few days here with us, and so we had an opportunity to just explore the Durham community. And when I tell you I fell in love with it, I absolutely fell in love with Durham at that time. And so after that, we would start making weekend trips to Durham to come and shop, to come and have dinner. I've come with some of my friends to have dinner. And so this was like a little getaway place for us. And I just really felt like this was such a cool and vibrant place. And I'm not saying that because I'm the county manager now, but I remember leaving here feeling like, man, I would love to live in a place like this. And I'll say this now. I was thinking, I wish Greensboro was more like Durham. And so I've shared with some of the colleagues here since I've arrived that after that time, I kept my eye on Durham. And for those of you who don't know, when you look at the census number, Greensboro is the third largest city in the state. Well, Durham is right behind Greensboro, is the fourth largest, and is quickly gaining steam and like closing in the gap between the populations. And so I would look at what Durham was doing, because I did not want this community to overtake Greensboro as the third largest city. And so in doing my research and always kind of comparing what Durham was doing to what we were doing, I saw that the position was open. And I thought, and now, mind you, I moved to Greensboro to be a student at North Carolina A&T, did not leave, and did not have a desire to leave Greensboro. I thought that's where I would, retire and spend the rest of my life. But because being in Durham for that week made such an impact on me, I was willing to take the chance of living in Durham, because I really enjoyed just how I felt. It felt like a great fit for me. And one of the things that I told the commissioners during our the interview process, they asked me a question like, why did you apply? Why are you interested in being the county manager? So my first answer was one, just to get some giggles. And I told them, because Durham is cool and vibrant, I think I'm cool and vibrant, so it's a great fit, right?
Yes.
But it really did. This community made such an impact on me. And when I tell you the people here are just genuine and sincere, I appreciate that, because that's the type of person I am. I'm genuine and sincere. Doesn't mean that we will always agree on everything, but that's okay. The fact that people are sincere and don't have a problem expressing how they feel, I can deal with that. But I really appreciate the genuineness of the community. And so I applied for the position. I talked it over with my husband, applied for the position, and I was thrilled to even, be in the running. And so but I kept telling myself, now, if you don't get it, it's okay. At least, you got a shot at it. And so, of course, you can imagine when I was offered the job, just pure overjoyed, just grateful for the opportunity. And it was truly a leap of faith. And when I tell you, I am reminded every day that this is exactly where I'm supposed to be. Something will happen. Someone will say something that reminds me, Kim, you made the absolute best choice in applying for the Durham County manager position. And I really felt like this was the place for me to be. And just through, the people I've met already, the conversations I've had, the think tank discussions I've had. I love think tank discussions. I know that this is the place that I'm supposed to be, and I am super excited to be here.
Yeah. Well, I can certainly say you have hit the ground running. You have come in, you met with quite a few of our employees on Zoom your first week. You've met with employee groups, and my goodness, you have created a recommended budget all in a very short time. How do you feel about that?
A little tired, but energized at the same time. Okay. I think I know when I spoke with the chair of the board, Chair Howerton, and she said, well, I'll tell you, we really would like for you to begin March 14th. And if you can remember, the official vote happened at the end of February. And so, of course, we had conversations before then. I knew the offer had been made, but you have to wait until the full board votes. And so that was about a 2-week time span between when the vote occurred and when I was asked to start the position. And so it was indeed a whirlwind.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons that the board wanted me to begin at that time, and I absolutely agree, was because we were beginning the budget discussions. And they wanted to make sure I was involved in those discussions as much as possible, in order to build a good budget. And so I feel like that was probably the best time for me to begin, because I got to meet with so many people that I probably would not have met with in my first 30 days. And so not only the staff, so I got to meet with every department head because they presented on their budget needs. And they also talked about, they did a SWOT analysis. And so I got to hear from each department's perspective what their strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats were. But I also got to meet people like J.B. Buxton, the president of Durham Technical Community College. And he and his staff presented their budget. The Museum of Life and Science, they presented their budget. Dr. Mubenga, our superintendent, he and his staff presented their budget. So I had opportunities to meet people in the first 30 days that I don't think I would have had it not been in preparation for the budget. And so there were a few days that, I didn't go to lunch. I didn't leave the office because there were back-to-back meetings about the budget. But I will tell you, because that is kind of my foundation, it energized me. And so I wanted to hear about the needs and learn about the departments, and then step back and have the opportunity to discuss with our board, with our budget team. And I have to give a huge shout out to General Manager Claudia Hager, who served as the interim county manager. She and her team, Keith Lane, the budget director, and David Ades, who's, like Keith's right hand, they really helped me understand and get a good grasp on the Durham County budget. And without their help, I don't think I could have done it. I really don't. But there were some tough decisions to be made. And so, but I really feel comfortable about those decisions because of the depth of conversations that I had and the large number of people that I got to meet and speak with that help provide such a great understanding of our organization.
Well, certainly a great job. We've got about 2 minutes left. Is there any quick thing you want to share with us before we conclude today?
Just that look to hear from me quite often. I want to make sure that we grow our community in an equitable manner. We talk about equity and inclusion, but equity, we have a great racial equity officer. I'm looking to expand our equity footprint because I think it's bigger than race and ethnicity. So we're looking to assess our policies and procedures to identify any areas where there may be, barriers and negative outcomes for people in marginalized communities and low wealth communities. So I'm looking to expand equity conversations and create employee resource groups for our employees so that people feel like they belong in our organization, but then also look to broaden equity into our community so that we talk about one of our missions and visions is to be a thriving community. I want us to thrive equitably. I don't want us to be a community of have and have nots. I want us all to have and have a high quality of life. So I'll be reaching out to different segments of our community to have those discussions and have the difficult conversations about what we need to do as a community to make sure that we all rise and have this thriving quality of life.
Well, I have so enjoyed our conversation today, and I wish we had another half hour, but certainly we're going to have you back on the show very soon.
Great.
So I just want to thank you for all that you are already doing for our residents, all that you will continue to do, and I wish for you a long and productive tenure as our Durham County Manager.
Great. Thank you so much for this time. And thank you all for embracing me as your new county manager.
Well, that wraps up today's show. We want to thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you next time on In Touch with Durham County. Cheers.